So as we spend our day today on 3+U and courtesy of Warren and Griffin, focusing on the risks, the dangers, and the prevention of texting and driving, or in today's case, never texting and driving, we thought it appropriate to bring in some official forces who can give us some insider information on what they see and how critical it is to drive correctly. So we've headed out to the Tennessee Highway Patrol, visiting with Sergeant Alan Bailey. Good to see you this morning.
Good to meet you.
So let's talk a little bit about the cold hard truth, and that is that in your day, every day, you and your staff are coming upon cases where you're constantly seeing people texting and driving.
Yes, I mean, it's an epidemic proportion of people texting and driving out here. It causes wrecks. It causes people taking their eyes off the road and hitting animals and other things just because they're not paying attention to the road.
Things can change in the fraction of a second. You and I were talking on the phone the other day and setting this conversation up this morning, and you told me that the laws kind of continue to change. Something that many people don't realize now is that even if you're at a red light, you cannot be on that phone.
No. With the new hands-free law, it actually, you have to be in a parking lot in order to be on have the phone out. If you're at a red light, if you're texting, then you're in violation of the hands-free law. Whereas the old law, you could actually be at the red light and text, and you would be okay. But the hands-free law, you can't do that.
Okay, true or false? I'm the mother of a teenager. That's true. Are the younger people more likely to text and drive as opposed to the 40-year-olds out there?
I think that's a myth. A lot of the parents, they want to blame the kids for texting and driving when it's actually everybody. It's a problem with everybody. We probably write just as many tickets with older people, 35, 40, 50 years old, as we do teenagers.
You put me through kind of a test. I drove around a little bit in a safe, controlled environment to text and drive. You kind of get a quick sense of a false sense of security, right? Where you think, well, I'm looking up ever so often.
Right.
It doesn't take any time before you're...
And I go to high schools and I talk and I talk to civic groups, and one of the first questions I ask them is, how many people text and drive? Of course, you'll have a few people that's honest that they'll raise their hand, but a lot of people say, well, I absolutely never text and drive. That's just something I don't do. And then I'll ask them, the second question I said, well, when your phone goes off or a text message comes in on your phone, do you pick up your phone and look at it? And 90% of the people say yes, that I'll pick it up and look at it, even though I'm not texting. It takes 3 to 5 seconds to look at your phone to see who's calling you. Well, that 3 to 5 seconds, you can travel almost a football field and actually hit somebody or cause a crash or run somebody off a road in that 3 to 5 seconds.
You and I were laughing a little bit. You've been part of the Highway Patrol for going on 35 years?
32 years.
32 years. So I had laughingly said that you and I are in the minority of people who can remember days before a phone. But your job must have been a lot easier before those cell phones came into being.
Well, it was a lot easier because the number of crashes were less, it seemed like. I know when we worked nights, you see a car swerving, you pretty much knew as a DUI by the way they drove. But nowadays, you don't know the difference between somebody texting and driving and somebody that's DUI. You can't tell the difference in it.
What does the law tend to be? We'll be talking with Judge Russell Bean in a little bit about kind of how he sentences people in his courts. Is it a case-by-case basis, though, Sergeant Bailey, as to when you write someone a ticket or not, or is it a guaranteed citation?
It's all up to the officer or the trooper that pulls them over. Nothing's guaranteed. Sometimes we give a break. Some people we just kind of feel that just the contact itself with that trooper, and that trooper brings their attention that, hey, maybe they were weaving or something. Sometimes that's enough. Some people don't learn from that. So then they you have to write a hard copy to them and write them inside them into court.
I don't want to bring up negative emotions in you, but I'm guessing you've had times where you've come upon a scene of an accident and it's a really hard one to get out of your mind.
It is, and I've got certain ones, especially like with kids involved, or if you've got somebody that's DUI or do something stupid that causes a family to harm to a family, then that actually eats at me more than you know, somebody that hurts yourself. But yes, there are crashes, and I'm sure any trooper or anybody in law enforcement would tell you, or first responders will tell you, that some of them are just senseless.
Right.
You know, not wearing your seatbelt, texting and driving, drinking and driving. All these things are just, there's no sense in it.
I know you said that the younger people tend to be pretty good about it, but sometimes they can be literal. When you say they never text and drive, they've evolved now. A lot of them Snapchat and drive.
You know, and I, to be honest with the younger generation, I have a teenager too. YouTube is big, and we've actually caught people YouTubing going down the road, and they wasn't texting and driving. They were either Snapchatting or YouTubing or posting videos, and I've seen it even with older people on Facebook where they're live streaming going down the road, and they're actually driving. And they never realize what they're doing.
In your training, have you been taught a little bit, if this is true, that the more you're on your phone, it really does change your dependency on your phone?
It does. And there's actually been a lot of studies on that, that you know, the more you use it, the more you get dependent on that phone, and can't keep from looking at it. I know Lieutenant Harmon just retired from the Highway Patrol. And one of the things we had to do was keep up with our email in case somebody had a crash report. And he said the biggest thing I had to get used to is not looking at my phone every 5 minutes, because I don't have to look for the crash reports anymore. And he said it was a big relief once I got out of that habit of doing that.
So either just put that "I can't respond right now, I'm driving" notification on your phone, or put your phone in the glove compartment,
or just turn it off.
Or just turn it off. You can't do this alone. Y'all are part of a family here within the Highway Patrol. You did want to let folks know that y'all are hiring. Right,
yes,
you're recruiting.
We are recruiting. We're through the whole month of August. We're accepting applications to become troopers, and we'd love to have a lot of people from this area, because we're short-handed right now.
Before I let you run, you might not know the answer, but looking at Tennessee in the course of the other 50 states, how do we rank in terms of texting and driving?
I don't have that statistic, I'm sorry.
We want to say that we're at the top of the list for not doing it, though, right?
I would love to.
We would love to get to that point. Sergeant Bailey, thank you so much for your time this morning. And we're going to kind of put you to the test a little bit, because when we come back, we're going to actually get in an unmarked patrol car, right? With Trooper Moore. He's going to take us around, and we're going to see just how prevalent texting and driving is here, and how often he does see people breaking that law. We're reminding you, never text and drive this morning. We're back with more in just a minute.